Next we're playing a hand with 4 straddles on. You can see that it's 2, 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, making effective stack sizes very short. The button limps in for 80 with ace 3 suited. His name's Radley. It's a rad name, but it's still one letter less cool than what it could be. The small blind wakes up with pocket kings and a stack of 10 big blinds. He's not going anywhere. He cuts out chips, then raises to 380. Kings is a good hand, but you know what's an even better hand? Kings in position. That's what Rampage has in the big blind. He could jam or call to set the trap. He likes to go for the trap. I'm in trouble because I wake up with pocket 9s and the $20 straddle. The biggest stack that has shown interest in this pot so far only has 12.5 big blinds. The thought goes through my head that Rampage in particular could be strong, but calling and having effective stacks be around 1/3 of the pot seems silly. Folding pocket 9s on stream in this situation isn't something that's very appealing either. I jam, not loving it. Radley doesn't like the spot that he's in. He folds. I don't imagine that the other 2 players are going to fold regardless of what they have, and they're getting a lot to 1. Once a 2-seed asks for a second to recheck his cards and revel in the moment, pocket kings is actually the worst hand that I put him on. He calls, Rampage snap calls, I get caught in the middle. At least my equity is solid given that no one appears to have folded a 9. I'm up against 2 pocket kings. The opponent's equity is actually about 10% higher than what it's listed as. We're going to need some help. The flop comes queen 10 deuce rainbow. We don't improve. The turn is another 10. We've got one last shot to hit. The river is the jack of hearts. I lose my profit back and then some. The opponents basically chop up my money. Rampage started with a little more, so he wins an extra 200. I get beat by a guy wearing my own shirt. Next we've got ace 4 suited in middle position. Under the gun raises to 30. We've got one of those quintessential 3-bet hands. I re-raise to 100. Rampage down a few thousand after a rough session. He's been very active at the 5-10 table. He puts in the cold 4-bet to 250. The initial pre-flop raiser folds. We're playing deep with an opportunity to win a big pot, and it isn't that much more considering the pot odds. I call the 250. The flop comes 10-8 deuce with 2 diamonds and a heart. It's not exactly what we wanted. We've only got 1 over and some backdoor draws. I check. I'm mentally giving up on this one. Rampage only bets 135. Okay, that's too small of a bet. I can't quite give up yet. Let's see if we can improve on the turn. I call 1 time. The turn is the 7 of clubs. It doesn't help us at all. In fact, our backdoor dreams are dead. I check with real plans of giving up if we face another bet. There's no opportunity for us to let go. Rampage checks back, so he may be afraid that we have a set, or he might just have an ace-high hand himself. The river is the 9 of spades, putting 4 to the straight on board. We've got about the worst hand that we'll ever have, but we haven't seen much strength post-flop from our opponent. He likely has ace-queen or ace-king. We don't beat those hands though. I'll occasionally have the jiggities or ace-jack suited. I can also have some pocket pairs that have turned into sets that I'd be pretty comfortable betting for value on this board given the action. I'm going for the bluff to represent a set or straight. I bet 425. Rampage is a good player, so I needed to switch up my strategy against him, which led me to bet an amount that really looks like I'm going for value, similar to when I bet the river with king-queen of hearts. I'm hoping Rampage will recognize that this sizing is just asking to get called, and he'll, in turn, be more inclined not to pay it off. This sizing should be just as effective as a big bet, but I don't have to risk as much. Rampage is deep in the tank. If he calls, we'll be down an amount that we probably won't have time to come back from. If Rampage folds, we'll be up several hundred. Each second feels like forever, but finally, Rampage turns over only the queen of hearts and makes his decision.
Cool. Alright, I got that one through. Jiggities would be okay there. That was like the worst hand I'll have.
Rampage tells me that he had queen 10 of hearts. That's what he gets for 4-betting me light. With this win, our stack is at 3,800. We're in for 3,500, so we're finally unstuck. It's time to rack up and pay back what I borrowed. 18 hands in, a storm is brewing with a double straddle to 200 on. Mariano raises to 500 from the cutoff. We look down at pocket 10s. After seeing a late position open, we have what's a very standard 3-bet. Maybe we can get some hands with 2 overs like king jack or queen jack offsuit to fold. Or we can get called by worse pocket pairs, or even hands containing just 1 over. I 3-bet to 1,500. Mariano is near the top of his range with a premium. It's unfortunate for us that he has us notched. He puts in the 4-bet to 3,500. A 5-bet from us wouldn't accomplish much since better hands won't be folding and worse hands won't be calling. It's not too much more for us to call. We're in position and it's still possible that we're up against hands like ace-king or ace-queen. I call for 2,000 more, really wanting to win this so that we can get off to a good start on the session. The flop comes jack 8-5 with 2 diamonds. Our opponent flops top set, though he didn't need it. I expect him to continue firing at a high frequency after he 4-bets, whether he connects well with the flop or not. In this instance, he bets 3,500 once again. It's too early to fold at this juncture for that price, since under normal circumstances we could still be best. Usually a 10 will still give us the lead, plus we have backdoor straight and flush draws. I call, looking to pick up equity. The turn does just that for us. As the deuce of diamonds comes out, we've at least got a flush draw. I anticipate a lot of checks from Mariano because all of hands like sets of jacks and eights, and also flushes after the way this has been played. We see Mariano glance at my stack and realize that I have less than a pot-sized bet remaining. He certainly doesn't want this board to get any worse for him, even though he has a monster. He flings a fistful of pink 5k chips into the pot to put me to the ultimate test. Instinctively, this is going to seem like a snap fold to many of you. We've got second pair and we could be drawing dead. It's really not quite that simple though. We're getting a little over 2 to 1 on a call, meaning we only need 33% equity for a call to be profitable. We're clearly not getting that in this instance when we can see what Mariano's cards are. When we're making decisions in real time, we have to try and figure out what his whole range looks like when he jams though. I actually almost immediately rule out flushes and pocket aces with the ace of diamonds because he wouldn't bet that much in order to give me an opportunity to fold a hand like pocket tens with a diamond. He'd go with a much smaller amount to avoid scaring me off. Mariano is a good player who's fearless at times. When he's jamming after 4-betting pre-flop, he's going to have a decent amount of bluffs in his range, consisting of ace-king and ace-queen offsuit with just 1 diamond. Being up against top set is one of the worst case scenarios for us, and we still have 8 outs. I can't quite let go against a capable opponent when we're getting 2 to 1. I call the shove and quickly find out why Mariano wasn't concerned that we might have flopped a set. At this point, we're going to have to get lucky to win this, otherwise we're going to start out in a $20,000 hole. Luckily, I've got my man Clutch Kevin dealing the cards. He's the one who dealt the biggest pot that I've ever won of $147,000. Let's see if he can help me out one more time. The river is the queen of hearts. We lose a pot of over $40,000 just a short time into the stream. Mariano sacks me and gets a nice win. This hand gets posted to the lodge's social media, and again, people start coming after me, questioning my skills. It's interesting because the people who have a better understanding of poker weren't surprised by my decisions in this hand at all. In fact, well-known poker coach and streamer All In Pav ran the hand through a solver and created a video showing that I played the hand how I was supposed to, including making a point to show that if we're holding pocket tens with a 10 of diamonds and we're facing a river shove getting 2 to 1 pot odds, we have a pure call.
So once shove is played here, even though it was with the incorrect hand, what is the solver doing? Tens with a diamond is pure calling, and nines with a diamond is also pure calling, whereas ace queen with a diamond is always folding here. Now, I did see a lot of people say that Brad, for the most part, is going to be up against a lot of combo draws or crushed. And yes, that's true. He's going to be up against a range that has a lot of equity most of the time. But that doesn't matter. In cash games, when you get in the right price, you simply call, because folding is not going to be making more money than calling. That's the whole point here. Now, whether or not you believe that hands like ace queen and ace king offsuit with a diamond like the 4-bet free and keep barreling here, you can leave that for debate in the comments.
If you're not playing as close to theory as you can in real time against someone like Mariano, you risk getting exploited. We see here, he's completely capable of making huge bluff shoves like he does with air against Andrew when there's 4 to the straight on board. Theory's great, but it doesn't make me any money in this hand. Instead, I'm forced to reload. I do it for $30,000 this time, losing all of my $10,700 profit from the day before and then some. It's going to be a grind just to get back to even. I'm here for it though. Mariano will have the opportunity to go for a big squeeze. His trade raises to 600 in the cutoff. This is followed by Andrew Nemi picking up a playable hand with 2 Broadway cards and calling. Somehow, Mariano wakes up with a monster right on cue.
Kind of hard not to. This much. I'm back, baby. I'm back.
I'm not sure what to make of Mariano's previous comments, and now his subsequent 3-bet. He's been incredibly aggressive already, 3 and 4 betting pretty relentlessly. We've got what's ordinarily going to be the best hand with ace-queen in the big blind. We've got a big decision to make.
And wow, Mariano talks about blasting off and immediately looks down at pocket queens 3 bets to $3,500, and Brad has a real one. Ace queen off, 4 bets to $8,000. perfect spot here for Mariano. Has Brad crushed.
Must be nice.
Snap calls.
Must be nice.
Mariano doesn't even seem to consider 5 betting, so it feels like he has a worse suited ace of some sort, or medium to high pocket pair. Maybe some type of suited connector hand that he didn't want to fold for a 4-bet that wasn't much more. I've ruled out hands like aces, kings, ace-king, and I doubt he'll have queens very often because we've got removal to queens. The flop comes 10-10-8 with 2 clubs, small blind checks. This pot has gotten massive. I'm not going to have any 10s or 8s in my range, whereas the opponent will have some trips and some full house combos. I check back to hopefully see an ace or a club. The turn is the 10 of diamonds, and the small blind checks again. Now I'm thinking it's a lot more likely our opponent either has ace high like us or an underpair to the board. 8's full just got counterfeited. I put out a small bet of 4,000 to make it seem like I'm milking the opponent and just checked back aces or kings on the flop to be tricky. Mariano will almost never have aces or kings in his range, whereas we will. Because of that, I plan to potentially fire huge on the river and maybe even overbet shove. Mariano calls the 4,000. In my mind, he could have ace high, maybe the same hand as us, or a hand like jacks, or an underpair to 10s. The river is the ace of hearts, giving us the second best boat possible. Mariano checks. He's got to hate seeing that card. I love it. This is such a rare spot to be in that I actually have no idea what the best play is. I'm kind of in shock to have hit the river. I want to make sure that we squeeze out any extra bit of money that we can, but I don't envision the opponent being able to call anything if he has a worse hand than ours. Ultimately, I go with another tiny sizing of 4,000, which is a lot in real life, but it's very small relative to the pot. Mariano can't fold for that amount, even though it's almost never a bluff. He calls. He reasonably could have called for a good chunk more with pocket queens, but if he had pocket 9s, I'm not sure that he would have. I'm finally getting some good runouts. We win a pot that's almost $30,000. I'm up about $20,000 overall. Very little was going right for me on the previous trip here. That's changed for the most part today. A few minutes later, we pick up ace-7 offsuit in the big blind. Rampage is still second in chips. I've slipped to fourth in chips and only have 11.5 big blinds. Rampage open shoves, which he'll be doing with a wide range when he only has to get through me, and I don't have him covered. I wish that I could wait for the shortest stack at the table to bust, but this is too good of an opportunity to pass on. I call, putting our tournament life at risk. Rampage has ace-3 offsuit. We've got a great shot at winning. The flop is 9-9-7 with 2 diamonds. We pair our 7 and have a backdoor flush draw to go with it. The turn is the 4 of clubs. We get the double up unless one of the final 2 aces comes out on the river for a chop. Guess what the river is? It's the king of spades. We win the hand to propel us into second place as we swap places with Rampage on the leaderboard. Still, we're nowhere near the chip leader, who has about 4 million. We don't win any hands for a few orbits, then pick up ace-5 offsuit in the big blind. We've got 13.5 big blinds. It's a very similar situation as before. Ethan has us covered and jams from the small blind. Ace high is going to be ahead a lot of the time, but we're not fist pump getting it in. I call quickly because I'm still never folding when I'm the shortest stack at the table and need to double up if I'm going to have a shot at first. Rampage has queen 10 of clubs. We've got a slight lead. It's close to a flip though. We have to win this or we're done. The flop comes king 10. Rampage is the one who pairs one of his cards this time. He's got a huge lead. It's pretty much over for us because we only have 3 outs. We at least had a good run. We somehow will the ace of hearts to come out of the deck and no one at the table reacts. I assure you that I'm screaming fuck yeah on the inside, but I didn't want to celebrate doubling up through my friend who had visions of grandeur when the flop came out, only to maximize devastation on the turn and river. I had 815,000 to start the hand, so after the double up, I've got well over 1.6 million. It's the new high point for the tournament. While the blinds go up to 20,000, 40,000, our stack has gone down to 435,000 when it's folded to us in the cutoff. We see Jack 7 suited. I'm actually not quite sure what to do. There are a variety of things that I consider in this type of situation before making a decision when I'm on the fence. The first 2 things are my stack size and position. I've got roughly 11 big blinds with 3 players left to act behind me. If I can get through the first 2 players, it's a shove for only 8 big blinds effective since Rampage just lost a big pot and now has the shortest stack at the table. Rampage should be calling it all in with a relatively wide range, but he'll still be folding some hands that are slightly ahead, like King Deuce through King 5 offsuit. Plus, he may call with some hands that we're ahead of, like 10-9 suited down to 8-7 suited. Even most hands I'll call with that have us beat pre-flop won't be terrible for us as long as we have 2 live cards. None of these factors that we've considered so far really sway me one way or the other. What's mostly weighing on my mind is that blinds are going up extremely quickly. If we don't play extra aggressively, I risk getting blinded out. If my stack remains the same over the next few minutes, I'll soon have less than 9 big blinds. This fast structure makes me lean way more towards shoving. One last factor is that I have a solid image at the moment, I haven't gotten out of line, and I've done well at the table so far. This could allow me to get some extra folds in spots where maybe other times opponents would call me lighter. With all these thoughts running through my head, I go ahead and jam. If we can just win the blinds, that'd be massive for us at this stage in the tournament. We get through the button, small blind picks up ace-6 offsuit. We obviously don't want to get called by that. The opponent has a tough decision. He asks for a count. It's more than he feels comfortable putting in the middle. Fortunately, the opponent folds, and I don't blame him. The action's on Rampage. He gets a count as well, though we have him covered. He looks at one card. It isn't great. Then he looks at the other. It's connected and suited. It's a dream situation for us. He has one of those hands that I mentioned before that could call our shove with only 8 big blinds that we have dominated. He wishes that he had an easier decision.
Well, that sucks.
We're playing right down to a winner.
Get a look. Oh, they're suited.
Jake asks for a look, and Rampage shows that we have him crushed if he calls. There's no way for Ethan to know that he only has 1 live card. It's about the best situation possible for us. Ethan is looking at the clock and probably notices blinds are going up soon as well. He can't afford to be patient and is also forced to take some aggressive lines. Ultimately, he flips in a chip for a call. We both turn over our cards at about the same time. Rampage isn't too thrilled to see that we're about a 2-1 favorite to eliminate the young stud. I take out a Diet Coke. Rampage takes out his phone to potentially make a vlog from this footage. I know that there are better cameras filming, so I'm not very concerned about that. I just don't want an 8 to hit. The flop comes ace-king-6 with 2 hearts and a spade. We're somehow in great shape with just jack high. The turn is the 4 of spades, giving us a flush draw and Rampage a gut shot straight draw. Our equity goes up though. We're close to a win, yet it feels so far. The river is the deuce of hearts. We pull a Robbie Lou to win a massive pot with jack high to eliminate another opponent. You may have noticed that if the small blind called pre-flop with ace-6 offsuit, he would have made 2 pair on that board and knocked me out. It's a really interesting situation for me, the small blind, and Rampage in the big blind. It's a kind that I like to dissect the second that I get a chance, and I do so with a variety of tools. First, we can go to the push-fold chart that you have access to with a membership to pokercoaching.com, which I have a link to down below in the description box. We input all the data for our situation to see that with 11 big blinds in the cutoff, Jack-7 suited is actually not a shove, it's a fold. Jack-8 suited is a shove, so Jack-7 is right on the cusp. But then if we make it through the small blind and are only shoving for 8 big blinds effective against Rampage, we see that several more hands become shoves, including Jack-7 suited. Now if we go to an app called Snap Shove that's available on your phone, we can see what the opponents are supposed to call with. For 11 big blinds effective, the small blind is supposed to be calling with ace-5 offsuit or better. His ace-6 offsuit should have been a call, and he would have won a big pot. However, we're getting closer to the money. A min cash is for 3.5 times the buy-in amount, so avoiding big risk is definitely reasonable. Plus, I think my solid image helped me get a fold out of a hand that might have called normally. Finally, we get to Rampage's range. For 8 big blinds effective, you see at the very bottom that 8-7 suited falls into the call category. All 3 of us were on the cusp of playing for stacks or folding. Rampage made the difficult but correct decision to get it in. Fortunately for us, we had a hand that had him in bad shape. We got a good run out to pretty much double up in order to get one step closer to the money.